This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
See what? I can send you, but maybe a couple of pictures. Like this ones were a double door, and they're about just under 5 feet wide, 9 feet tall. They're a yellow pine because it matches that, but they're a triple layer, so they're laminated yellow pine. To basically, you end up with more stability, kind of like you do with plywood, so you don't have the warping and cupping and such.
Yeah, people call me and say, "What do you mean it's not solid wood?" And I'm thinking, yeah, 9 out of 10 doors, if they were solid wood, would be irreparably warped. You
Exactly.
want laminated construction.
Exactly. And I recently did a door, actually on our house. It's kind of unique, and it's beech exterior. It's just a 3080 door, but it's beech on the door stiles and rails. But in the center, I use a live edge mesquite slab, and then I poured epoxy, a translucent epoxy around that, so that
I've got to see a photo of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, just tell me. I mean, I can text it to you. I can email it to you. Whatever you want me to do. But I'd be happy to send it over. And
yeah.
I will say this.
Epoxy's cool.
Somebody asked me about building one of those, and they're thinking about what it costs to, buy a 3080 door, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Well, multiply that by 15.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a one of a kind, and it took weeks to make that door because there's so many levels, and I had to, have CNCs and stuff too. So, then you got to surface everything down with there. Then you got to start at your polishing, starting out at like 120 grit, then the 150, then 220, then 320, 400, 600, 800, and finally 1,000.
Yeah. I'm using my CNC right now to actually make, when you're at the Mexican restaurant and you order fajitas, well, that blazing hot cast iron, it's sitting on a piece of wood, so I'm making those underliners. So I've got an order of 50 of them. And I'm taking it a notch above, and I'm putting the restaurant's logo on them. So
yeah, well, you know what? That's our primary thing is we do custom CNC work.
Yeah.
And it's just on the door itself. I used to build cabinets, and I actually built houses, but focus mostly on cabinets and custom trim. So we were, building our house a few years ago. She wanted something unique and different. So, yeah, I don't think that I don't know that there's a market that people are going to be willing to spend, $10,000 for one of these front doors. Yeah. But yeah, it's beautiful. I just don't.
Beech is great. Beech is used when you order wood vision frames in the commercial industry that we work in. Beech is nice. It's a good looking wood. It's dense. I'm not tempted to say it's closed cell like maple or birches, but it's got a pretty smooth grain structure, and it stains nice.
Yeah, it does. Now, of course, also that I had to custom stain it versus the mesquite slab. Its natural color is what is there. There was no stain on it, so I had to really play with some stains to get the beech to match that, but I think it came out pretty well. But yeah, I'll be happy to send you a picture of it, and just know if you ever intend to make any of those, holler back at me because there are some lessons learned. It can be costly.
Yeah, I would. I use my CNC for aluminum as much as I do for wood, actually, like making custom thresholds. But as you know, you're talking hundreds of dollars a foot for a CNC milled aluminum threshold. Now, back to the work that you're more shifting into, my expertise could be better utilized in discussions on hanging devices. What's the right hinge? Is it a pivot? Is it a hinge? Is it something like sauce? And then getting into locks, because you're probably encountering unusual door thicknesses and things of that nature. Pivot points that have to get put into AutoCAD to determine how wide of a hinge is needed, et cetera.
Yeah, and I probably overdid the hinges. There's 5 4-inch hinges per door on these. Um, just because I wanted to make darn sure that I didn't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah,
And
70% of the weight of the door is borne by the top hinge.
right.
So on your doors, realistically, I would have used pivots because Mother Earth is carrying all the weight. And if I couldn't have done that, I would have looked at sauce or something like that because they're so exquisitely engineered to handle obscene weights. And frankly, butt hinges are always my last option because they're just the least efficient way to do it.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're the only way to do it.
Yeah, for this particular thing, that's why I went with 5 because I know that especially on that top hinge, because not only is it weight straight down, but the weight because the cancel it wants to swing out because people don't.
It's where your vertical axis of pivoting is measured off the face of the door. You always want to tuck that as close to the face of the door as possible because of the effect that you're referring to.
Right. Exactly. But anyway, that was my little issue. Is I was this weekend I was trying to get that knocked out, and then I created a custom white oak threshold for the bottom because this is a wood looking thing. Anyway, and when I put that in, I thought I got down there and looked up. Oh crap!
Yep.
But no, your idea on stacking those, I would have never thought about that. That's genius.
Well, you break enough bits on a CNC and you start thinking creatively.
But yeah, buddy, I've got now I keep my broken bits because I also teach CNC classes at the local Woodcraft. In particular with the VCarve software.
Yeah,
but
I use VCarve Pro.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah.
And I like it. There's a couple little things I wish it did, but they all have that. But one in particular is, and I'm sorry, Richard, if I'm keeping you, I don't want to.
Not at all.
But I enjoy talking to people who have the same ability to grasp. And I'm dealing with a student or somebody that hasn't done it long. They don't always understand when you're trying to talk to them. But one of the things that I've found is, like, for example, you're making parts and you have tabs because you can't use a vacuum with small pieces unless you seal off everything else.
I've got two Beckers and I'm pulling 21 bar and I still can't hold parts down. And tabs, or I've experimented with the blue tape and super glue, which I am startled as to how effective that is, but it's really expensive to do that. I made some pull handles for Marvel Studios. You're dealing with a 12 by 12 piece that I'm going to create. Anyway, you get it. But tabs.
Well, the tabs, whenever you're, like, for example, you're in mill, you're coming around and it raises up, goes over, because I usually use a tab that's like an 1/8 inch thick, 1/4 inch, long.
Right.
And so you got to go over there and it raises up to create the tab on that last profile cut and then goes over and goes back down. But where it comes up to go over and then where it goes back down, I end up with little creases in there, if you will, made from the bit on the edge of the product.
Yep.
And man, it gets to be a little frustrating because I thought, if they would just create something on VCarve that would allow you to do it, like whenever, when you're going to do a profile cut, for example, and you have, just a second here, it's over on your toolpath thing, and when you're doing that, and say, for example, you're going to cut that outside thing, and anyway, long story short, it's, how you can kind of circle in with a radius when you begin a cut on your profile?
Yeah, you're going to ramp in however you're going to create the ramp.
Well, yeah, the ramp's up and down. That's 90 degrees. I'm talking about, let me just pop open the little VCarve thing here. And so if I were to go in here and put this on here and then go over here, and I was going to create that and tell it to So you're doing a lead. That's what it is. Not a lead. Yeah. So it's called a lead. It's over there by your ramp tab. It's the second one over. So it's a circular lead is what I use on my profile cuts. And what that does is it doesn't plunge straight in. And those help, but I just wish that they would have a feature that allowed you to do that on the tab thing as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's just one of the little things with V-carve, but, it's not that big a thing. We just have to, we've got oscillating sanders, and we just have to sand that out a little bit.
Yeah, there are small things that, people at the beginning of their career don't think about, but you do later on if you're honest with yourself, and you say, okay, it works. Now it's time to optimize. And that's
Right.
one of those things that fall under that category. How do I make that better? And actually, if I was to be teaching, and I'm in no way qualified to do so, I would spend a lot of time on educating the difference between up and down spiral.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I go over that, and simply because I tell them chip load is a big thing too.
It's everything.
Yeah. I actually. Do you ever watch Ryan Drapella on Cutting It Close?
I may have. The name is familiar. I've watched a lot of people. I'm doing double-sided right now in V-carve, kind of for the first time on those underliners, and I dipped in to, reinforce my understanding of the reference points so that when you flip the sheet over, it's spot on.
Exact. Yes. Right. That's where I use pins for pin alignment. I'll drill some temporary over there, and when I put it over, it slides right back over those pin holes, and then I'm spot on.
Yeah.
And but yeah, anyway, the little things like I spend probably a quarter of the time at first helping them understand what is chip load, why is it important, what's what kind of bits, and for feeds and speeds, very critical, especially when you start talking about you can't run for example, if you're going to do a spoiler board bit, you would not run that. It's the same one. Because you're talking about a larger bit, so you got more centrifugal, force out there. So, yeah, I mean, it can be an all-day kind of thing, and it's a learning thing for me every day. Picking up those little bitty things, and so I've given a lot of thought into how could I modify the G code on the because also, and I know I'm nerd out here, Richard, but I also write software. This is my career for a long time. So I thought, well, I can go in the G code. I can create some Python code to look at the G code and identify based on just on those profile things of where is it that tab is. I thought about experimenting with something like that, but I thought, no, you know what? The amount of time I would spend doing that is more time than just put it on the oscillating sander and then be done.
Yeah, and if I'm making custom ceiling tiles. I've been working on that project for my shop, literally MDF ceiling tiles. And anyway, I would let V-carve, I'd let Vectric export my machine code, and then I would go into the file editor and I would tweak it manually because I really want to optimize what the bit is doing at either end on the X, because I want it doing something very particular because it's wasting time in its tool path. And it's a matter of needing to learn V-carve better, but also finding out how to optimize that tool path better. And if ceiling tiles got to be a thing, yeah, I would be doing a lot of optimizing because I'd be able to justify the time. To your point, toss it on the sander, we're done.
Right.
If it becomes an 8-hour day, 5 days a week for an employee, then yeah, you'll write that Python code.
Right, exactly. Well, Richard, listen, I mean, this is an unexpected pleasure to, be able to talk to you about other things other than just the product, that you guys sell that I had purchased before. And so hopefully, if you will, I'll send you a picture of that door over just for your own curiosity. What email address would you like me to send it to?
Just reply to the email that I sent you about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Will do.
I was able to find your order based on your caller ID and your reference of 2 years ago.
Awesome. Okay, well, that, and I'm going to go ahead and get this order placed and get that on the way, and I'm pretty sure that's going to solve my problem. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.